we moved to this remote work world.
Yeah.
Zoom works.
Yeah.
It's fine. I use it every day.
Yeah.
Why even think about going after an area that already has such a dominant player who is being positioned in the media and elsewhere as the disruptor?
Yep.
Right. So it's not that Zoom is some, 100-year-old incumbent company that no one's tried to take it off. Like they kind of are like the startup that just made it.
Right.
And you guys are already coming after them.
Well, let me just take a step back and tell you about what Roam is. So during March of 2020, when we were talking about, who to lay off and what not to lay off, I one day set up a Zoom. And when you run a big company or a small company, you're doing Zooms all the time. I put 100, and the bigger the company, the longer and more boring the Zoom tends to be. Mm-hmm. And you set up those calendar invites where you add all the people and you add their email address in. And I was setting up a Zoom calendar invite, and I think it was for 100 people, and I forgot to add someone. And when you forget to add someone to a Zoom in a remote world, that person does not exist. It's like they didn't know the meeting was supposed to happen. Like nobody told them. They blissfully, ignorantly go about whatever they were doing, and like they missed out. In the real world, if there was like a meeting going on with everyone and like a person walked into the office and saw all the people there, be like, oh, I'm probably supposed to be in there. Mm-hmm. So it was at that moment that I had this flash of insight, which was, well, what if there was a bird's eye view of all the meetings going on in a company at the same time that everyone could see? Just like in the real world, you walk into an office. I walked into your office here. I see it's a bustling office. There's people talking to all kinds of people here. There's, I see who's in, who's not in, who's talking to who, and I get a sense for what the heck is going on. Mm-hmm. We lost all that when we went to Slack and Zoom. Mm-hmm. And what Zoom did a phenomenal job, better than anybody in the world. Zoom was the first video conferencing technology that worked. And Eric rewrote the video codec. He didn't use the existing stuff in web browsers, which didn't really work that well. Mm-hmm. He rebuilt the whole codec from scratch and, famously left Cisco and that whole thing. So they solved the video conferencing technology problem. Mm-hmm. But what they completely failed to solve, or didn't attempt to endeavor to solve, was the workflow. And so what we have today is this amazing technology, but our workflow around it's totally broken. Things that used to take two people, 5 minutes in the office to get done right now. Hey, I walk pump. Can you help me with this thing? We do it. Like we're done. Now is being scheduled for a Zoom call for 60 minutes with 9 next week. And so, then the other thing about this that's funny is, when you're scheduling a Zoom call for 60 minutes next week, I put you on it, and it's like, well, I should probably be inclusive. I'll just invite everyone to it. And so you end up, this is the calendar clutter we were talking about before. The workflow is backwards. The workflow is broken. There's too many meetings. The meetings are too long. Things that, could be done right now are being scheduled next week. So it's slowing companies down. And so we invented Roam. Roam is a cloud headquarters. That's the positioning for it. Cloud HQ. It does 3 things. It makes companies, it helps them reduce the number of meetings they have. The average meeting time in Roam is 8 minutes.
Wow.
8-minute meetings.
Not down to 6 like lawyers, but we're getting close.
We're gonna try to get down to 5.
All right.
And I'll talk more about the meetings for a second. Second thing it does, it makes companies feel more connected. 90% of people that use Roam feel more connected to their company. Mm-hmm. In a remote company or a hybrid company or even a distributed company, and let me be clear, Roam is not just for remote or hybrid companies. The fact is, any company that gets big enough becomes distributed. Yext had offices from Berlin to Beijing. Mm-hmm. We're all over the place. So we put companies together under one roof. Anyone from anywhere can see everyone and see who's meeting with who and pop around. And so this vision is this bird's eye view of the whole company, everyone in one HQ from anywhere. And then the third thing, and we'll talk about this in a second, about SaaS and my views on SaaS, we have a business model innovation. We only charge per active user. I think the Zoom room concept, where there's 8 people in a physical room and there's a TV with 8 people dialed in, like the Brady Bunch on Zoom, is fundamentally broken.
Why?
Because if we're all in a conference room and the 6 of us or 8 of us, let's say we're in there and there's 8 people dialed in and they all get a head on a screen, if I'm talking, my head always goes over to the TV. I'm always looking at the TV, even if you're right in front of me and I'm talking to you, because I want to make sure they can see my face. It's an awkward interaction. Now, it technically, again, this is an example of technically works, but humanly, it's a inhuman way to interact. And I think a better approach, just to give you an idea of something that could feel more natural. Well, actually, let me take a step back. That approach was designed by AT&T for the 1970s video phone, the original video phone for the World Fair. And it works really well when both conference rooms are exactly equal.
Makes sense.
Yep. So there's like 6 people around one side, 6 people around the other side. There's a camera, and we look like, a circle. But as soon as it becomes multiple people on the screen with different heads from different places, everything becomes kind of uneven. And so a more natural approach would be you and I everyone brings their own device to the meeting. Forget the TV, turn the TV off. You don't need the TV. You're in a conference room. Everyone has their laptop or their iPad, and everyone has a camera on their own face. By the way, think of the experience for the people that are dialing in the old way too. Like I can see like one screen, I see all these heads of other people that are dialed in, and then there's one screen where all the people are in a semicircle around, and I can't even see who's talking. It's too small. Like I can't figure out what's going on. So a more natural approach is bring your own device to the meeting, and you sit there, and like everyone has a camera on them. So right off the bat, every single human has a camera and is even on the screen. And then when I need to talk, like I can kind of, if I'm talking to you, Pomp, and you're across from me, instead of looking at the TV to make sure that like the people over there can see me or whatever, so I can see them, I just like look at you and talk. And I can look down and the camera is still on me. I don't have to move my head at all. I think the future of hybrid meetings is going to be people with their own device as opposed to a centralized big device where we all kind of have to look at it.